Well, we're down at the training ground with AFC Wimbledon's first team physiotherapist Tim Maynard. Tim, comprehensive roundup to come up of how all the players are in terms of getting back at the moment. First of all, though, sadly, news of Che Alexander. Bring us up to date on that.
Yeah, so sadly on Saturday you will have seen that Che had to come off. Obviously we've scanned it and it's come back that he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. He may well need to kind of go down a surgical route, but we'll just have to kind of consult with the specialists and see what they're saying. But it could be a bit of a lengthy layoff for him, which is a real shame for him and the squad, and something again that we'll have to deal with from a medical perspective.
Better news concerning, of course, our captain, Alex Woodyard. He's worked his way back into selection, of course, now as well. And he must have been a real pain to sign off in the end. He was so eager to get out there,
yeah? Woody was great to work with. Obviously, he's a great character, and it's just a matter of trying to keep him on the straight and narrow with his work and what he's doing and how he's applying and things like that. But his work ethic is excellent in the gym. And kind of when he was outside doing his rehab, obviously Chris and I pushing really hard to kind of make sure that when he came back in, he could slot straight back in, which, again, you like to kind of see that he's been able to complete the minutes that he's completed over the last few games. And yeah, kudos to kind of Woody to being able to absorb everything we threw at him to be able to achieve that. But yeah, it was just, again, frustrating for him in terms of the injury and the timing, and for the club and everything like that, with such a busy schedule.
Of course, Ben Hennigan, good to have him back out there as well now.
Yeah, Ben is a force to be reckoned with on and off the pitch. He wanted to be back as quickly as possible, and yeah, given his ankle injury, we've certainly achieved that really well. Like he's literally battling on. He's doing a great job in terms of managing his ankle and being available for the games, especially kind of what we've got coming forwards, and he's an important kind of team leader within that group, within the first team. So it's great to have him back, and all the hard work that he's got to come and to keep that kind of ankle ticking over is going to be testament to how much he can do outside of the building as well as in.
Another player who's had a hamstring injury must be very close to getting back as well. Henry Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah, so Henry's been good. He's somewhat lightened the load a little bit in the fact that he went back to Chelsea. So Chelsea looked after him and kind of did all his rehabilitation. But we kind of liaised with any player that's on loan with us, with their medical department, quite closely to make sure that if they do have a problem, that we kind of know where they're at. And so with him, he's progressed nicely. He trained last week with us and with Chelsea, but he's with us all this week, and kind of that puts him into contention for this weekend perfectly, which kind of works quite well given the issues we've just had with Che.
What's the situation with Egli, Kaja and his calf, because he looks to be back out there?
Yeah, so Eggs is a similar kind of story with Henry. So Egli had been out with kind of his hamstring and then just had a little niggle as he was coming back through his rehab, which meant we took a little bit more time to get him right, which again just impacted upon his ability to function within the squad, but training for the last week or so and things like that. And again, that puts him into contention for this weekend too, which again is great news just to add back into the squad, given kind of the number that we've had recently.
Brilliant, fantastic news. Of course, we've been out there today filming you working with Sam Cosgrove, of course, with his back situation. Yeah. How's that coming along?
So yeah, so Codsy's improving, which is good. So obviously after that flared up just before the Doncaster game, he was in quite a lot of discomfort, but it seems to be going in the right direction. We've been able to kind of get outside and do some relatively low level stuff to kind of really facilitate him and see whether we can get him available for this weekend or not, and just kind of see where we're at and not push it too quickly, because he's got a bit of a past medical history with this where we just need to be sensible with it.
Two strikers now, both by the name of Aaron. We've been bringing them up to the regular updates on them in recent weeks. One perhaps closer than the other, Presley and Cosgrove.
Yeah, so again, super frustrating for Alan Cosgrove. So obviously came back from Dover, got in the team, scored, made his first start, and 4 minutes in, obviously succumbed to an ankle injury, which is no fault of anyone's really, it's just what happens in football. So again, he's had a significant kind of injury in that ankle, probably going to be another 4 weeks or so for him, which is frustrating. So he'll kind of be in or around the last few games, but really frustrating when he was just starting to break through and kind of again bulk out the squad so that we've got more to kind of be able to play with, select from, and kind of rotate as well as we need to. But then obviously kind of Aaron Presley coming back in as well. obviously we all feel for Presley and Prezzo in the fact that he's had like a re-injury to his hamstring. It's it's not quite the same as to what it was before. It's slightly different, but given it's the same muscle within the hamstring group, so your hamstrings are 3 muscles, it's the same muscle within that group. Having consulted a specialist and things like that, and with Brentford themselves, it's made the decision that he'll be out for the remainder of the season. So make sure that it's right, which obviously just depletes us a little bit. But again, it's kind of getting all the bodies back in as we have been. Yeah,
that is a great shame in terms of Aaron Presley, because he showed so much potential, and I think he got on well with all the lads, didn't he?
Yeah, like it was great having Prezzo back for that short little window, but again, I think it's the right decision for him to make sure that he gets that hamstring right before he kind of again pushes on in the next phase or stage of his kind of development and stuff like that.
There's a few young players I wanted to touch upon as well. I mean, to start off with Elliot Bolton, he's done extremely well out on loan at Corinthian Kaja. Let's talk of an MCL injury. What's that about?
Yeah, so Elliot hurt his knee, again in contact injury, so not a lot he could really do about it, and has had kind of a substantial injury to that knee and that ligament on the inside, like you say. And so he, again, will be out for the remainder of the season. And again, we're just consulting with the specialist to see where we're at with him and where we go. Just to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. You can manage it in either way. But I think it's important that we just make sure we get the right voices and the right opinions on it before we kind of make a decision which path we go down. Yeah, and obviously leads into the other lads that are out at the moment. So obviously you've got Luke Jenkins, who's had again a hamstring injury whilst he's been out with Tunbridge. Again, just when he's kind of getting into that form, he'll have to just work hard in the gym and get himself back going. But he's probably again another kind of 8 to 10 weeks away before he's anywhere near being ready to kind of get into some form of training. So again, it will just take some time.
That's important you get around him as well, of course, because he's had injury setbacks in the past and he's been doing so well at Tunbridge, hasn't he?
Yeah, and like obviously in that under-23s group, they're a fantastic group. They're so tight, they look after each other, and kind of from a medical department, we really kind of make sure that they're pushing and working hard in the gym, and with kind of every kind of work ethic here and kind of in and around the Dons. Especially these academy products as they come through, their work ethic is exceptional, and they just kind of graft and get on with it. And he'll be doing that and kind of guided by Matt and Martin, and make sure that he's ready to kind of rock and roll come pre-season probably.
Better news perhaps concerning Kwaku Frimpong?
Yeah, so Quakes is doing well. Again, he had like an ankle injury that was more, it's hard to describe it, but it's not essentially the ligaments, it's more like connective tissue or a fascia that sits around to help keep things in place. He had an injury with that, and that has otherwise been just causing him the discomfort that he was having. So we had some time to rest it and let it heal, to then take him through his recovery, which again will probably be another 3 or 4 weeks before he's out and ready to train really.
So was it like a heavy impact injury?
So yeah, he took contact, but obviously the contact was heavy enough to create a bit of tissue damage, which then created this kind of issue whereby it just was getting this kind of repetitive and recurrent pain when we tried to rehabilitate him outside. So we ended up kind of ultrasound scanning it and getting a better understanding with the doctor, so that we knew kind of what was driving it, because it wasn't quite behaving quite as a contact injury in the end. And so it obviously turned out to be more of an issue with this retinaculum.
Just wanted to ask you as well about a young striker we've got, Quain Bartley. He's been part of match day squads in the past. He's been out on loan, but he's back with us at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, so chatting with Matt, who looks after Q, he's basically took quite a knock to his knee when he was playing for his loan club, and basically that created a bit of a swelling through the knee, which again we've just had to take time to get that swelling off, to then start to get him back outside, which he was today, and kind of doing some change of direction and some cutting and some ball strikes, and he's certainly looking more comfortable with it. So I anticipate he'll probably be back and in around the fray in kind of 1 to 2 weeks' time or something like that. But yeah, positive progress with him.
Just wanted to touch upon finally, because the fact that yourself and Chris McConnell have kind of been our task force in terms of COVID over the last few years, and we are seeing perhaps around you a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but for yourselves it's something you're still aware of and certainly hasn't gone away, yeah?
No, yeah, so obviously with the whole pandemic and how it was, it was a challenge. still continues to be a challenge with the management of the squad and their availability. Obviously, given it at its peak and rises of cases, certainly in and around whilst we're trying to maintain the kind of fixtures and things like that, it was hard work. But I think, again, like you say, there is some sort of light at the end of the tunnel with the government's regulations and the confidence that the medical officers and that have within the within how the numbers and the statistics are reporting and how the actual virus itself is behaving, that they're quite happy with it. So yeah, obviously Chris and I have had to kind of work hard, and well, the whole medical team have worked hard on ensuring that the number of cases that we've had have been relatively low or sporadic, which has been great. And I think a lot of what we had is there's always been a lot of external infections when we have had them, so that's more stuff that we can't control within this environment. So again, we've not had any major outbreak within our training groups or anything like that, which again has been kind of a testament to all the work that everyone's done as a collective to kind of listening to what we've been doing and how we've been guiding them really. And obviously that a lot of that's been overseen by Bob Sherwood, who's been our COVID officer, who did a fantastic job kind of helping with us with all of that.
Tim, a very comprehensive update indeed. Thanks very much indeed for your time.
You're totally welcome, Rob. Have a great day.